Hi, this is George Sherritt. I've just finished doing your home inspection and I'm going to do a review for you here. That's the front of the house. I'll put that on the front of my report. The stairs are in contact with the dirt in several places, and that's going to cause the wood to rot if it hasn't already. So I'd recommend, wherever possible, the earth to wood contact be separated. There's wood rot in the stairs in several places. So have a licensed contractor, do what I've done, probe and poke and prod and find all the rotten wood and then replace it. Here's another example. They just filled this in with putty. Thought that was interesting. These boards are rotten here. So, just here and there's rotten boards on the deck. So I'd recommend all the rotten wood be replaced. These white boards are called barge rafters and they stick out beyond the roofing here. It's a better building practice that the roofer would continue his roofing down over top of this and out past what's called the plumb cut so that water drips out in space here rather than running down the board. These tend to rot pretty readily, so I'd recommend they be covered. Here's more earth to wood contact on the deck here. Same thing here. These posts are in contact with the ground. Same thing here. Also, this downspout's not connected to the tight line drain, so I'd recommend that get connected. This is a little area called a bump out. It's just a little bay window, basically, and I put my camera under there to make sure that it's been sealed, and it has been. Often I find it open and animals can go from here into the crawl space, but they did a good job sealing it. There's what's called a belly band around the house, and it's just a board that they nail onto the siding, like a piece of trim, just aesthetics. Unfortunately, the boards they chose have a bevel that faces towards the siding, so water's going to be trapped down in here, and that's why the paint is peeling. So I'd recommend either replacing these with a board with a sloped top away from the structure, or that this be sealed really well. The problem with sealing it is caulk is temporary, so it'll fail like it has here. So that's going to cause the siding to rot here over time. Several of the vents for the crawl space under the house are filled with debris, so I'd recommend they be cleaned out. The back deck is also, the stairs are in contact with the dirt. That's going to cause the wood here to fail prematurely. Again, where possible, you want to dig out and put like little concrete bricks or pads underneath here to separate the earth from the wood. Rails, for a long time in our state, have been required to take 200 pounds of lateral pressure from the top. So if you applied 200 pounds of pressure here, it needs to be able to withstand that. I guess, a big guy at a party running or something. And they just use these little brackets with screws into the decking, so those would probably pop right out. So I'd recommend the deck rails be installed in a way that would withstand that 200 pounds. There's wood rot in the deck stairs, the little set of stairs off the utility room door. There's also earth to wood contact here. This is the other side of the same stairs. These are quite rotten, and they've actually settled too, so that the stairs are leaning and the deck is leaning away from the house. So have a licensed contractor fix that and replace all the rotten wood. There's a little bit of wood rot in the trim around the window on the left wall of the house. In my report, left, right, front, back is as if you're standing out in the street looking at the house. This is where that is. So have a licensed contractor replace that wood. It's just another example of the belly band being, open to the weather here and water being able to get in. This is actually starting to rot here. It's right above where the gas meter is. You can feel this is punky. There's some minor wood rot on the trim around the garage doors. So same thing, have a contractor replace that. Probably this downspout elbow being pointed towards the trim here isn't helping, so have that facing down the driveway in the future. The other side as well is also punky at the base. The gutters have quite a lot of debris in them and need to be cleaned. There's moss on the roof. I'd recommend a moss killer be applied if the roof is going to stay. So the roof probably has been pressure washed in the past. There's quite a few areas where the aggregate's missing. You can see just what's underneath the aggregate here. The purpose of aggregate on a composition roof is to reflect ultraviolet light because the material underneath of that is subject to damage from sunlight. So once the aggregate's gone, it really speeds up the decay of the roof. We'll come back to the roof in a minute. This is a chimney chase way that has wood rot in the siding, so have a licensed contractor replace that with new material. These are just other areas where the siding's been damaged by pressure washing. There's a lot of debris around the flashings of the skylights and the other penetrations to the roof. They need to be kept clean so that water can run off correctly. When you have a lot of debris around those, it sends water, in different directions where you can have leaks occurring and more pressure washing damage. There's tar on the roof here. That tells me that there's been a roof leak there. Nobody goes to Home Depot on a Saturday and buys a can of tar and gets up on the roof unless it's been leaking. So, and we'll get to that. There's quite a bit of evidence in the attic of the roof leaking. Same thing here. There was quite a depression right here. It's kind of hard to see in this photo, but basically the sheathing is rotten to the point that it's sagging here. Either this flashing or some of this flashing around the skylight has been leaking. So have a licensed roofer, open this up and replace the bad sheathing. Here, I'm pushing on it here. This is where that was. We'll talk about it more when we get to the attic, but I think because of the number of roof leaks and the damage to the roof, this roof is probably at the end of its serviceable life and needs to be replaced. When you have a roof end like this next to a wall, there should be what's called kick-out flashing here. There's metal flashing for each course of roofing that goes up behind the siding and under each row of roofing. And when you get to the bottom, it should be bent out in a way that directs water into the gutter, and so it doesn't go inside the wall or behind the wall here. This is just another look at one of those barge rafters. You can see the paint's missing already and it's getting dark. It's starting to get a little punky from that water constantly coming down here. So having this protected either now or when the new roof goes on will extend the life of those. I took this just because if you were here, I would have brought you over and showed this to you. The electrician that wired the electrical panel really did a wonderful job, and it was obviously very proud of their work. Very neat and tidy. It gives me confidence about the things I can't see. There's a lot of wiring in a house that you can't see, but when I see this, it's just, like I said, confidence inspiring. This is the hot water tank. This is a safety valve. It's called a temperature pressure release valve. It's probably one of the more important safety features in a home. It keeps really bad things from happening should the hot water heater malfunction. So if this valve needs to open because the pressure is too great and or the temperature is too high, it needs to discharge really rapidly. And so there's a yellow tag that comes on this. It's been removed, but I keep one in my car that says several things about how this is to be installed. One of which is you can't have more than 4 elbows, because every time you have an elbow, you've got a reduction. You're going to slow that water down, slow that discharge down. So there's 7 of them in this line, so that's too many. So I would have, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's one at the end, 7. So I would recommend you have a licensed plumber correct that. This is the tag. It talks about use of more than 4 elbows or bends in discharge piping. It shouldn't be more than 30 feet long. I don't think it is. I actually had a conversation with one of the engineers at the company that makes these, and I wanted them to write me a letter saying, like, we mean it. Because I've had contractors, I've had plumbers tell me, it doesn't matter, you're crazy. And they said, basically refer to the label. They said, we put a lot of work into the label, and it basically says failure to comply with these instructions regarding the valve can result in serious personal injury or death or severe property damage. So they really mean it. Yeah, so have a plumber fix that. This is on the side of the furnace. This is a 24-hour timer, and these pins you would pull at different intervals, and that opens a duct to the outside that brings fresh air into your house. So it's the way the HVAC contractor for this home designed the indoor air quality system, basically. So it's not set for any time at all currently. So I'd recommend the furnace be serviced because it hasn't been serviced recently, and then have the technician set this for an appropriate amount of time for this furnace in this house. Here's like the service tag, Northwest, and this is the original installation comments and date, and so it hasn't been serviced since then. It was in 2004. So I'd recommend the furnace be serviced. The exhaust fan for the stove that's part of the microwave made quite a clattering sound. It got a little better, after a little time, but something's not right. The blades are out of balance or something is in there, so that needs to be corrected. There's a plumbing leak somewhere under the kitchen sink. I couldn't find exactly where it is. The dishwasher also leaked out of the front right at the end of the inspection, so I looked under here with my flashlight and could see water glistening all underneath this stainless steel connection here. So somewhere in this line, there's probably a leak. So have a licensed plumber find that and correct it. The tile countertops in several places, the grout has failed. This is in the master bathroom, so potentially water could get in here and lead to damage. It'll eventually work the tiles loose. So I'd recommend you have a licensed tile contractor re-grout the countertops. There's signs of water damage in the master bathroom above the shower. It's not a great picture. I think I took another one with the flash on. It doesn't help much, but there's water damage here, and we'll see later in the attic that there's evidence of water intrusion right here. So the roof's been leaking. It was actively wet today. I have a moisture meter I put up there, and so it's actively leaking. There's stains on the left side as well. There's a carbon monoxide alarm in the hallway like the state law requires. That's good. Fireplace was in good shape. It doesn't look like it's been hardly ever used. The flue was also clean. There's a fair amount of cosmetic damage to the engineered wood floors where the finish is missing or damaged, so you may be able to have those refinished. A couple of the doors, the bypass closet doors, lack the little guide here that usually guides them back and forth in a track, so I'd recommend that be installed. It's just more examples of the flooring being damaged. This is in the hall bathroom. Same thing, the grout has started to crack in a few places and should be replaced. The tub in the hall bathroom was very, very slow to drain. Most likely there's debris in the trap here, so that should be cleaned out. Have a licensed plumber fix that. In the attic, you have a combination of two types of trusses. These are your trusses that hold the roof up. Over a lot of the living area, you have vaulted ceilings, so these are scissor trusses. I'm not able to physically crawl back in here, so there was parts of the attic I wasn't able to see. This is the part over the left side of the house. You can see, there's been multiple roof leaks here, and the sheathing is rotten in several places. So I think it's time for a new roof, and the sheathing would need to be replaced also. Same thing here. Same thing here. This is the skylight in that master bathroom, and this is where the water's been coming in. Now I'm under the house. They're storing wood down there, and wood is cellulose, so it's considered food for insects. So it's not a good idea to store wood under the house, especially have it laying on the ground like that. So I'd recommend all the wood debris be removed. Insulation's fallen down in several places under the house. That's going to create cold spots. So I'd recommend a licensed contractor correct that. Same thing here. There's a dead rat in a trap under the house. And there's signs of rat droppings in many places under the house. Pest companies do what they call exclusion work. They would come and seal up all the places where rodents and other animals could potentially get into the house or under the house. And then put out a combination of traps and or bait to get rid of the ones that still were in the house, and then you'd be rodent free. Other insulation falling down. More wood and rodent droppings. Other places where insulation's fallen down. I took this, this knot pattern here is the signature for LP. I don't know if you're familiar with LP, but it's Louisiana Pacific, and it's a siding product that they made and had problems with. In 1996, which is when I understand this house was built, was the year they changed the formula. And it appears to me that this is the newer version. There's some subtle differences, visual differences. They kept knot. It would have been nice if they'd changed the knot so you could tell the difference, but they didn't. But the bottom edge here used to be level, and that's where it would start to fail because water would run down and then hit that level area and go backwards and eventually get sucked up into the siding. And now they've made the front edge lower than the back edge, so it's beveled towards the front edge, so water drips off here. So I believe you have the newer version, and I didn't find any areas with problems or wood rot other than the little belly band section I pointed out to you earlier. And then we're back at the beginning. After you've read my report and gone through this, if you have questions, you're welcome to call me on the phone. Thank you.